Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new series happening during the month of July called Summer Music Motivation. Each week, we're going to have a different guest who will share what they've been up to this summer and how they're staying motivated. So today's guest is the amazing Emily Pecoraro, who is a saxophonist, woodwind doubler, mother of 2 toilet-trained cats, and more. She is based in New York City and is also an educator, a Broadway musician, a florist. So Emily, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you?
That's the bulk of it. You got all the highlights. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily. It's nice to meet you. Yes, Olivia very, very beautifully summed up a lot of what I do. So I play saxophone. I play clarinets and flutes as well. I play in a couple different projects in the jazz world and in the adjacent sort of what I describe as groove-based worlds, which is just sort of like, like what does jazz even mean these days? Like it's a lot of different projects that fall under that large groove umbrella. And then I also play in the Broadway community. I do work as a florist. I started doing that in grad school, and it's like this hilarious, like other life that sort of followed me through. Just like some weddings and things like that, and teaching a lot as well.
Yes, that's so awesome. And I see you already have plants behind you, very on brand for you. Yeah, so what have you been up to recently? What have you been working on? Where have you been playing? I know you're playing in a couple different Broadway shows at the moment.
I'm subbing at a few different shows right now. So I was on an off-Broadway show called Suffs about some members of the suffragist movement that was at the Public Theater. That closed at the end of May. And then I was out of town for a few weeks on a family trip, which a lot of fun. We went to Ireland. And now I'm subbing at a couple different shows in town. As far as jazz world, last night actually I played at the Iridium with the Ed Palermo Big Band. So much fun. That band is a blast. It's like exactly the right blend of like just killing musicians and also just like nobody takes themselves seriously. So it's just zany and hilarious. It's great. It's so much fun. So I'm playing a bunch of gigs with Ed. This summer, Olivia and I both were just in Rochester at the Rochester Jazz Fest with the New York Philharmonic. We have a couple things coming up with them. I have a brass band called the Dinganek Street Band. It's like an Ethio jazz brass band. We have a few things coming up, and we're trying to get the wheels turning there. It's sort of just like summer's kind of funny because there's like a lot of things happening, but also sometimes it feels like there's these big pockets of in between. A lot of wedding gigs too, which are always twist my arm. I'll put on a gown and play some Stevie Wonder tunes and like eat a cake, please. Happy to do it.
Awesome.
Something I'm working on. Honestly, the biggest thing that I'm working on. This is sort of like I went into this year. I was like, this is sort of my resolution for the year is to change my mindset and my like emotional reactions to different musical settings. So like, I feel like I don't know if I hope this resonates with somebody, but I feel like certain times, like for example, if I'm in like a big band setting or something where I feel outnumbered as a woman under the age of 40, who is an outgoing person, like it's easy to feel othered, to let yourself feel othered, I should say, which then gets in the way of music making. Because then I'll stand up to take a solo and I'm like, what do these people think I'm going to sound like? Already you've lost it, right? So like I do that. I don't know if you do that, Olivia, too. I feel like everybody, all of us do the every person, male, female, or whoever, does the mental gymnastics surrounding how we're perceived. And I think that as women, we have sort of just it's been necessitated for us to do that maybe a little bit more often. So I've been really trying to change just my emotional reaction to myself when I go to play.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's so important too to work on because you're right, we literally all of us do it. So what are some things that you're consciously thinking about when trying to shift that mindset for yourself? And like, do you have advice for others that might be going through that same thing too?
Just a lot, just being really diligent. Like I feel like the last couple of weeks, I really feel like I've been able to like thunk, like just like drop a shield and be like, it's cool. I know how to do this. Yeah. Here we go. A lot of I don't know, just in the prep work, just being very kind to yourself. Like I don't know. We're all hard on ourselves in our own way, but the idea of talking to yourself like you would, a friend, like even like I don't know, like the way that you would think about your own music making and knowing this person isn't in my head. I'm not going to compare myself to the like incredible person that just flew before me or who's 30 years my senior, whatever. Like just trying to get out of that and just get into my own space and be like, it's okay. Everything's great. I know how to do this and just sort of calm myself down. If you've heard me talk for like 5 minutes at this point, you know I'm a high energy person, but I like to describe myself as high energy, low stress. Like whatever I can do to get into boom work mode. And actually, a lot of that mindset for me as a person, and my Emily Pecoraro, my brain, I really practice in Broadway world where your job is just to execute. You know, like it's creative, but it's like kind of tangentially, like tangentially.
Yeah.
Words. As a side note, it's creative, but really in that you're making music with people in real time, but it's more about like checking into the tuning and just like the way that the phrases kind of arc, whatever the show you're playing in the moment. But your job is just to execute.
Right.
And so, like anything else, right? You've got that one lick in that tune that you're like, oh boy, don't mess it up. Like, and if you that to yourself when you go to play, like it's gone. You're like, you already messed it up. So like that kind of mindset of like almost athletic. It's like, I'm gonna do this. I got this. But then in the moment being like, here we go. Like mentally preparing for it ahead of time. If I have to play on a tune that is like changes that like go a little complicated, I'm like, oh boy, I have to get those. Sorry for that. Then I like ahead of time, maybe even tunes ahead of that tune in the set. I'm like, okay, cool. Like maybe I'm thinking of like, some phrasing. What are some things I would want to musically say, just to like visualize getting into it. It's vague, but I hope that's helpful. Just the biggest one is being nice to yourself, and if things don't go the way you want them to, being like, you win some, you lose some, but whatever. It is what it is. And nobody's like, I guess girls can't play jazz if you like mess up one thing. Like, which carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. I shouldn't say all of us. I do. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders sometimes. And I'm trying to release that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so true. And I forget, some people have told me this too of like, if you wouldn't say it to somebody else, then don't say it to yourself and don't be so mean and unkind to yourself because at the end of the day, we're all just people and we're bound to make mistakes. So it's best to just take a deep breath and just do the best you can and don't bully yourself about it. But speaking about bullying yourself about certain things, it's so easy during the summer to kind of do that to yourself of I have all this free time. Maybe you don't have so much free time, whatever you're doing over the summer. And there's some like practice guilt maybe that's going on. So, would you have advice or any suggestions of some things that you have done to help yourself stay motivated and also stay kind to yourself during those times when, there might be a big stretch of no gigs or, there's not a whole lot going on, but how do you stay kind to yourself and stay motivated to get those practice times in?
A huge question, right? Like, and I'm certainly not a beacon of success with that. Like, this week I didn't really have time to shed too much, but I think of it honestly like working out. So like, it's like if you're trying to, like, and if you're trying to like be like, okay, I want to do 1,000,000 push-ups, but you don't have time. Okay, I'm going to do 100 push-ups today. Maybe that'd be awesome, but maybe you have time for 5. Maybe you have time for 1.
Right.
But even within that, actually a personal trainer gave me this at one point. The mindset of just like, if you haven't been working out for a little while, then it's like, well, why? Like it's hard to like get yourself motivated. And for me, there's a lot of there's very obvious parallels between the two. You're trying to strengthen a muscle, whether it's your ears or your arms or whatever. But the idea of throwing the word either using the word already in there, it's like, oh, I already did 1 push-up, or I already did 5 push-ups. It's not 20, it's not 100, but it's a start. It's better than nothing. Sure. Even honestly throughout the school year, like life just happens, right? It would be amazing if we all had 8 hours every single day to play, but that just isn't, it's just not realistic. Like maybe, and that's amazing. And we relish those days, but it's just not obviously, an easy way to get that into the schedule. So, I make my students do that. If it's like, okay, you had time to play your B flat major scale today, superstar. You did something, right? Like it's better than nothing. That's the equivalent of like 1 push-up. You're still getting the muscle doing its thing. You're not going to have like Popeye guns by the end of the week, but the muscles are going to be doing their thing. So just make yourself do something. All I had time to do today was play through 1 tune. All I had time today was to play 1 scale.
Yes.
Better than nothing. And to know that, like, if you are diligent about cleaning it as well, I usually encourage that most people are visual learners, but a lot of times with maybe like our students who are even younger, if the horn if it's there, you're more likely to pick it up. So if you can leave the horn on a stand and make sure you clean it, take off that reed, whatever, it's easier to just grab it and play something. That's really it. If you can just get something going every day at 1 scale would be better than nothing, right? That's better than oh, I can't play through all my tunes. There's my cat. I can't play through all my tunes and all 12 keys. I better not take the horn out of the case. No, take it out, play one thing, and then say, great, I already did something.
Yes.
And in the process, take a break. It's summertime. You don't need to learn every tune. Pick 10. I don't know. Pick 5. Pick 1. Do just little increments that you can actually check off, and let yourself have a little bit of a break, because that's where you can really, we can create art, I think, more effectively when we have some time to relax. And if you're not great at something that you're trying to work on, throw the word yet in there. Can't do this yet.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it yet if you spend time working on it, but it's just part of the process. So take a break and same thing. Be kind to yourself, but give yourself specific things that you can check off.
Yeah,
as well.
that is such good advice. And then one other thing too that I wanted to ask you about is kind of taking breaks in the summer. And one of your big passions, aside from music, is flowers, which is so cool. Could you tell me a little bit about how your passion for flowers, does that impact your music at all? Does that kind of act as like a stress relief, or is it just like tell me about the flowers?
Thing, right? And it's my favorite thing is when I have like a flower wedding gig in the morning and then like a music wedding gig at night, and then getting into the car with the musicians being like, this is my second wedding today. And they're like, how? Like, what? Did you play like a 2 a.m. wedding? What's going on? There is so much overlap. And I love it so much. I started working as a florist in grad school just when I needed like a side hustle just to like help pay the bills. And it's art, right? It's creative. So like I love it. It's so fun. And I've made some amazing friends in that industry. But it's followed me through, and I've worked at different shops. Now I'm just freelancing because I don't have time for it, but I like it. So it's like a weird hobby. And I have a couple of friends who have opened up their own shops now, which is the dream. So I'm helping them out this summer quite a bit as well. So much overlap. I mean, it's art. Like I've taught a lot of flower design classes or like terrarium classes. I mean, Olivia and I have swapped plant photos. Strangers will text me and be like, hey, Emily, I'm so-and-so's friend. Here's a picture of my plant. What's wrong with it? Like all the time.
Plant doctor.
But I love it. It's so fun. I love having all the plants in my house. But in terms of the design element of it, it's like music. So in a lot of ways. So when I would teach flower design classes, I would always give people like a couple like takeaways. Like because it's fun to like, hang out with your friends and make flowers. But you want to be able to also like take those principles and work on them at home. And this is the educator in me being like, I need to give people something to do. But I always think of it in 4 big principles. So the biggest categories, the way I can think of it, are you're working with color, shape, texture, and line. And that's dance, that's fashion, that's food, that's certainly music, that's visual art. Like those principles to me sort of transcend the specific art form in front of you. And I like it as a creative outlet that I don't know, there's a lot of things about it that feel very musical. Just even like if I'm making, basically like you can come into, a shop with me and a couple of friends and say, okay, I want to make this arrangement. Here's my budget, go. And 4 different people can make 4 different arrangements, and they would all be totally different. But just like in music, you have style. So then like someone who knows your arrange, you could say, oh, Emily made that one for sure because of these different elements. Like there's a lot of that in the way that it feels very musical. And I love having it as another artistic outlet to just work out those sorts of ideas, but like with my hands and in a 3D way. Yeah.
It's so interconnected. All of it is just awesome. And I also love seeing on your Instagram too when you show up to gigs with flowers for everyone. It's so cute.
Oh,
And
fun.
has been somewhere as if there's a trail of flowers left behind.
Thank you. I feel it makes me feel like a princess. I love it.
So we are just about out of time, but before we go, I'm going to do a little speed round questions, completely non-music related, but I just think they're fun. So, go-to car snacks or road trip.
Big car snacker. I'm gluten free, so I love Against the Grain does really yummy really yummy breads and things like this. From the ground up, these little cauliflower stalks. Send me a text. I got a whole list. I'll send you an entire menu.
Okay. Favorite Disney character?
Oh, the raccoon from Pocahontas.
That is a great answer and very specific. What is your coffee order?
I'm a princess. Decaf dirty chai, with oat milk.
Ooh, delicious. Okay, what is your favorite word in Italian?
Oh, scoiattolo, which means squirrel.
That's awesome. And if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Sorry, I know this is supposed to be speed run, but I'm like,
It's like
time travel. I'm thinking of like Hermione's the thing where she could be in multiple places at once.
Yes, that's so cool. Okay, that is all we have time for today. So thank you so much, Emily, for joining us. If you want to learn more about Emily, head over to her website, mpecmusic.com. You can also find her all over social medias. And if you want to see more of these little videos, just tune in each week on our social media at 12 p.m. EST every Wednesday throughout the month of July. And you can also follow Key of She on all social media platforms at Key of She Jazz. So we will see you next week for another hashtag Summer Music Motivation. Thanks for watching, and thank you again, Emily.
Thank you, Olivia. Bye, everyone.